Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about are we clinically relevant? So this talk is basically focused on clinicians to see if with the advent of technology we still remain relevant. And this is the part of the grand round which we do every year at our institution. Okay, so I have no disclosure and these are certain guidelines. So basically, as you guys can see that gradually we are moving towards automation. You go to the airport and you have self check-ins. In the bank you have same scenario. In shops you have same scenario. And in clinic you guys have seen that you go there, you put your license or some ID and then you can check in. But what we are proposing that in future, what will happen that you have a machine, you just go there, you put your symptoms and the AI will work and then you will get a self checkout, a prescription will be printed and you can just, so it will be a human-less transaction and that will happen. So that's why, clinicians are asking that are we still relevant? And I'll walk you through, and I think personally that we are still relevant as long as we know how to use AI in our favor rather than against us. So again, are we clinically relevant? So why we selected this topic? There are 6 domains in medical education. So last 2 domains are not really much talked about. So one is improvement and one is system-based practice. And this talk is going to tailor on 4 boxes as shown here, and I'll walk you through. So basically, instead of saying are we clinically relevant, the question is are we relevant even? So, and how to be clinically relevant, we are going to touch base on that as well. So let's just start with guidelines. What are guidelines? And as I said, there are a lot of overlap between guidelines, protocol, policies. So we'll talk through that. So let's see what guidelines are. Guidelines are basically, a guide to clinician where they can make an action based on informed, evidence-based things. So for example, this is the thing like, this shows that what will happen if a patient calls in, then it will, this is a busy slide, but just to let you know that there is like what we call a standard of procedure, in other word. And then this is again, if an infant come who is less than 6 months and have all these symptoms, what to do. So what we are proposing that with the development of all these algorithm, where are we? If system is already doing the thing for us, why and where are we? So my point is that we are still there because this is just a suggestion. Again, this is an example, like even for UTI you have calculation. These days most of the presentation and guidelines are available on UpToDate and Medscape. So again, like for example, the algorithm for pediatric diabetic ketoacidosis is there, and it guides you what to do at what limit. So you don't have to call a clinician at 2 a.m. and say this is the thing, what should we do? So basically this is saving your time. Guidelines are really saving your time, and when you reach a point where you cannot manage further, then you can call the consultants or the specialist. So again, these guidelines are not randomly developed. There are specific agencies and authorities that help us making the guidelines. So now let's go to protocols. As I said, that guidelines and protocols, there are overlap. Like for example, in our unit, we admit all infant of diabetic mother to an ICU. This is protocol. So I have to do on all. I cannot just change that. Same thing, we admit all less than 33-week premature babies to NICU. And there are protocol for retinopathy of prematurity, intraventricular hemorrhage, PDA, and therapeutic hypothermia. So please look them up in your institution, whatever the protocols are. For example, hypoglycemia. This is from American Academy of Pediatrics. So here, like in this case, it guides you that if the sugar is this, what to do. If sugar is this, what to do. So basically, it saves your time, and you are not being called by the nurses or junior residents that sugar is this. They already have a protocol there, and once they reach a certain point, then they call you. So again, we are still relevant, is saving our time. Same other examples of hypoglycemia bundles. So like I said, this is a variable spectrum between guidelines, policy, and protocol. Pause the slide, take a look at this, or you can pull this article and read about it. So like for example, in this on the right side, like we have hand washing, parent visitation, incubator care, ROP. Which one is the protocol? or policy. For example, hand wash is a policy. You cannot change. Everybody has to hand wash before they enter the NICU. ROP is a protocol. Incubator care is again a protocol with certain procedure, and car seat is again a guideline or a policy. It's not a protocol like you have to do to everybody. There are certain criterias, and I'll walk you through the example of that. And again, in addition to clinical guidelines, now we have clinical pathway, and this is again to make sure that there is less and less variability between practice. Most of the practices these days are group practices, so there are many physicians and clinicians working together. So if we have a clinical pathway for a certain condition, we know how we are going to go about it. So again, read this article, and this is another guideline. Sorry, it's a little busy slide, but just take a look at that. So now, in addition to that, the AI, most of the EHR does have clinical decision support as a support to the physicians. For example, recently I was writing an order on a TPN on a baby, and then the machine says that the baby already has IV fluid written, and then I realized, yes, right, it's there. So I adjusted my fluid rate based on the clinical decision support. So like this is recently introduced in our Epic system, that if you have sent a specimen and you want to add, you just add a little bit, whatever you want, extra blood. Like for example, you have sent an RFP in this case and you want to add a bilirubin, you can just add there. So see, all this is helping us, but we are the person making that decision. We are in the driving seat, so it's not that we are irrelevant. And this is the example which I was telling you earlier, that how the machine tells you that baby is already on medication, do you still want it? Okay, let's take the example of car seat. So for example, American Academy recommend car seat to be done on babies less than 37 weeks. So these are guidelines. So the institutions say, yeah, you know what, we'll make it a hospital policy based on these guidelines, and you start doing it. So there are certain protocols and procedure to do the car seat, with this specification that parents have to bring the car seat, you have to put the baby in the car seat, and over 90 minutes you observe, and then you see. So then you have a clinical pathway, flow chart. The baby passes or fails, and basing on that, you again revise or repeat and then talk to the family. But guess what? This is in general pediatrics. Somebody questioned it, that why we have to do it. So what I was trying to say that, guidelines are there, but you can question, and you can develop new guidelines or update them. Another example, like for example, cranial ultrasound used to be done at day 3, 7, and 10, 3 ultrasound, but now recently the American Academy recommend only 2 ultrasounds, and third one is really if needed, otherwise you'll be okay with 2 ultrasounds. So now we are going to talk about quality metrics. So quality metrics, look at this. I said that let me type on Google what are the lectures available on quality healthcare, and look at, this is only one screenshot. So imagine how much I have on this subject, and this is very important. You cannot get away with it. If you think, let's look at that. So if you are a student, your intrustable professional activities require you to know about quality metrics. If you are a resident, the ACGME recommend that this part, patient safety, quality improvement, this is mandatory. And then even when you pass your boards and you become attending, then you have to keep doing continuous quality improvement. So there is no way you can get away from this exercise. This is another example, not to bore you with that, but look at how many things you are being monitored which reflect your performance. So let's talk about the box separately. So for example, if your health outcomes are not good, you are not a good physician or clinician. Then how your process is, what is there for patient safety, and let's take them one by one. So your one quality metric is mortality. If your center has a lot of mortality, then of course you'll be questioned on that. What is the average length of a stay for a certain condition? Do you get a lot of readmits? Because that is not a good indicator. Then what about your patient safety? Do you have near misses? And what about the cost? If you are doing the same care but your care is costly, that's not good. And then we all know about hospital customer assessment, that we are assessed by families or the patient. And this is important in part of getting the feedback, because that ultimately tailor your practice and provide some improvement. But the downside is it, for example, like this is an example. I'm not advocating or any company for that, but just an example that look at what are the parameters you're watched in. Like for example, a patient satisfaction score could have parking area and so many things which you have no control on. So that this is the flaw in this assessment, that a patient is assessing you for things which you have no control on. But again, these are included in quality metrics. So this is another example that how patients score you. And then this is another example, like for example, you will be followed up for friendliness and courtesy. So for example, if your clerical staff is not nice, unfortunately it will reflect on your practice. So that is something we have no control on. But again, just to let you know that these are the things there. And this is another example how different organizations have different metrics on your performance. Now let's talk about revenues. So olden days, a patient goes to the physician or a clinician, and you get some payment and you're done with it, with a little bit of insurance involved. But now it's not that easy. There are RVUs, and then it is related to a code. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's a complicated thing now. So for example, in RVU, they look at a lot of factors, your work, your environment, and then they have come up with a score. So for example, here, there are certain codes, CPT code, and you see how many number of patients you saw, and then it will calculate your RVUs. So basing on that, you want to know that I generated this much, what it translates to dollars. So again, it's easy. There's a conversion by CMS. So that you apply the conversion factor, and that you know that, oh, I have generated this much of dollars. The importance of this, that you want to become clinically relevant in the world of basically hospital are now run in a business type of manner. So you have to know where you stand. So you have to make yourself clinically relevant. So here we are. So now let's talk about a little bit about machine and human, because to remain clinically relevant, we should not be scared about, just like bank tellers are not there, like cashiers are not there. So there'll be a time that clinicians are not there and machine will be doing their jobs. So we are going to try to answer that, how could we still remain relevant? One example here, see in how time changes. In 1988, this guy got first place and he ran the same distance in 9.9 seconds. But in 2004, same time taken, and he became the last person. So the point which I want to make here is that targets are changing. What was excellent yesterday may not be good enough today. So you have to run with the time, and that's why it's very important to become relevant. So now let's, for example, I'm not against the an encyclopedia. What I'm saying with Google, you don't need this. So I think this is a meme. They made it a broom. And you must have noticed the change in airlines, that you don't need magazines anymore, because you go there are Wi-Fi, you're on your phone. So things are changing. So can we say that magazines are irrelevant? Probably the word irrelevant is not right, but change is inevitable. So you have to adjust yourself according to the changes. Now I'll just browse through certain slides showing the value of artificial intelligence in healthcare. So like we use machine in our human tasks, why not we use that? So you guys are already aware about the Copilot AI. ChatGPT is used. So for example, I commanded the ChatGPT to give me some guidelines on clerkship and look at the output. Same thing we can use in making questions. Like this is the question I made, and then I asked the ChatGPT to answer it. And ChatGPT not only answered this right, but the reasoning was right too. Another example where you can use this to generate a PowerPoint presentation. I did not use this tool in this presentation, but I'll tell you. I commanded to give me some 5 slides on jaundice, and here you are. The AI generated it for me. And this is another example. This is like a 12-page paper, and I commanded the ChatGPT to please give me a summary. Here you are. It generated a summary. See, it not only gave the summary, it gave me the reasoning with everything. Same thing. These days, the journals are asking that, are you using AI or not? Another example, those who work in clinical practice in clinics, now you don't have to really type all the letters. You can just command the AI to generate the patient information and other stuff like that. Another example is use of AI as a scribe. Like there are gadgets where you can just go sit with the family in the room, talk to the patient, and then this AI will generate the note for you. So you save a lot of your time in documenting, the encounter. So again, some applications, you guys are aware that how these days EKGs are automatically read, and then you have the information. But again, you are important there. Same thing with radiology. The automated machine can give you a result. These are other two examples in neonatal sepsis calculator and Billy tool. This is the calculator, and one day it will be incorporated in your EHR. So you don't even have to put the numbers there. The system will take the information from the EHR and spit out the final action what you have to do. Same thing with the Billy tool. Fortunately, our program Epic has already a nice way where it gives you a final result and the action plan as well. And this is another example that people have generated. I'm not advocating any software, but here they talk about how you can predict that baby will need phototherapy or not later on. So again, some word about clinical decision support. Like I said, it's very important that these days the electronic chart gives you some sort of support that in making decision. For example, in this case, the mSOFA was calculated by the system, and the system is telling you what to do next. Another example, like this is an example of taken from the Red Book, that in congenital syphilis, if we can use the system right, this system can just give us an answer. We don't have to work through all this algorithm manually. So we are not becoming clinically irrelevant. Basically, we are using technology in our favor. We are again making the decisions here. Another example, look at this YouTube when you have time. You can use the virtual reality in learning resuscitation. So it's not that we don't need teachers or we don't need mentors now, but it's like a self-education kind of a thing. You just put this virtual reality gadget and you can run through the neonatal resuscitation. But again, AI is not free from flaws because there are some ethical and legal implications, and diversity, equity, and a lot of things are there. And then the article is there. If you guys have time, just pull that and read about it. So this is an example where AI has read, as you guys can see, that this is a neonatal X-ray, and the technician is holding the baby's knee, and this is the hand of the technician. But look at the automated generated reading that mild degenerative disease is noted in the knee. This is a neonate, so baby cannot have degenerative disease, but bilaterally because of the hand holding the knee. So again, we are relevant really. We are very relevant. We still have to base our decisions on our knowledge rather than total AI. So what is the solution basically? What I'm proposing that we cannot compete with machines in certain calculations, in certain automated processes. But these are the 5 or 6 things. If we develop, we can be still remain relevant. For example, procedural skills. I strongly recommend for the trainees, those who rotate through NICU, should learn at least the umbilical venous line catheterization and LP lumbar puncture, because the AI cannot do. There are robots, they are doing the surgeries, but it will be very costly to have a robot developed just for inserting the UVC or UAC. So learn that. So procedural skill make you relevant. Second thing, communication with the families and parents. This is a strength of human communication. We have automated system and telephone services. You put yourself when you're calling someone, and the automated system takes like 20 minutes to bring a human to you, and so you feel frustrated. So say, imagine the patient care. So we are relevant. We can achieve that by communicating in a very nice way with the families. We have to remain passionate. We have to show compassion, and we all have to bring the human factor again in healthcare. Unfortunately, because of the demand and RVUs and the structure and the amount of patients we have to see every day or in our offices, we are becoming like a robot. Put yourself at the receiving end, and we all have those experiences where we are not satisfied with our provider because he or she is so busy with other stuff that we don't even interact and talk about our diseases or the plan. And so we have to bring that again, just to show you this in enlargement. Please try to develop that. So we are clinically relevant, we just have to work hard on it. And again, remember that we have to work as a team. If you guys have time, there are modules available on American Academy of Pediatrics about artificial intelligence in pediatric healthcare. And I am thankful to PubMed, YouTube, and Google for providing me a lot of material for my slide. And again, remember that it's common sense too. That's what we have to use. And if you guys have questions, reach out to me. This is my email, and you guys can use the scan code to log into my website or my YouTube channel or Instagram. You guys have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Please do comment so that we can improve as well. Bye.